Welcome to the Museum Roadshow. I'm Roger Engstrom. We're back at the Lake Park High School talking with former students about their memories of the school.
One of the things that I remember most about elementary school is when I was in 3rd grade, Mrs. Johnson was my teacher, May Johnson, and her husband was quite a storyteller and quite a fisherman down in the Cormorant area. And he brought in this fish that he had speared in the wintertime, and it was a huge, I mean, as a 3rd grader, it was a monster, and I think it was about 26-pound northern that he speared. He brought that into the class and had this huge fish, so we all got to see this fish. He brought it to all the classes, but that was one of the things that just stays with you forever. And I think there's many stories like, you know, just different things where when you're in a small school, you get those people come in and just say, "Here, look what happened today," and this is part of the small community. It's kind of nice. You know, I remember, except I think for my 1st grade teacher, we had a long-term sub, but I remember all my teachers. What I find remarkable is they're such good community members, and it's, I think, what made the school so strong. We had Mrs. Olson in 2nd grade, May Johnson in 3rd grade, Glenna Anderson in 6th grade, and Mrs. Ernst. And, you know, I had some relatives teaching, so I had to be shifting grades every once in a while, or classes in the grades, not. But it's those, I think those ties to the communities, you know, that you'd see them at the grocery store, or at the ball games, and but one teacher in high school that you can either blame or thank that got me interested in politics was Terry Tyken. He was the one that started. I remember talking about being a county commissioners, how much influence or input they had in all your decisions for your local governments, and so that kind of sparked my interest years and years ago. So if you want to blame someone for me being a county commissioner, that would probably be one of the people you want to start with. Looking back now, I never thought anything of it at the time, but to get to the lunchroom from your classrooms, we had to zigzag downstairs, and it was a long route, and you never thought of it when you're a kid, but now you look at, boy, that's a long ways. If I was still doing that, I probably would be in better shape. But just sliding down the banisters under your arm, and then later you got a little more daring when you were in the upper grades. You'd do it a little bit more often. Also in this part upstairs, I remember this was old when I was in school, and the floors are so squeaky, and you'd walk and it would creak and growing all the time, and I think it still does that, maybe worse now. One other thing I remember back when I was in elementary, the classrooms had all these huge windows, and it was very bright in there, and so it was very, very kind of a enjoyable classroom setting. And then in the 70s, when the energy crunch came in, we cemented them all up and put these small box windows in, and it kind of sealed up the bright atmosphere into kind of that gloomy. And I don't know if they were painted for years. I never remember them being painted, but I'm sure they were. But it just, you know, for that energy crunch time, it was necessity, but it sure made a kind of a poor classroom setting, that's for sure. But it's the people more than the building that's made this such a special school.
When he was talking about the room upstairs was the main assembly hall at the time I went here, and Leona Mullen was principal. Her desk was on the east end up there, and the superintendent's office was just across the hall. And whenever she left, you know, of course, everybody started talking and carrying on, and this floorboard squeaked enough so that when she came back, we could always hear her coming, you know, most of the time. But once in a while, she I think knew where all the squeaks were, so if she wanted to come back not knowing it, she could always get in there, you know. And I remember one time English class was across the hall, and Ruby Olson was a teacher from Staples. She, and for some reason, I don't know, it must have been about a junior year, because we had a Coke machine put in over in between the buildings. And of course, you know, we weren't supposed to have any Coke during the school term, but One day I got a bottle of Coke and on the way by and was sitting in my seat in the back. And whenever Ruby wasn't looking, I'd have a drink, but I forgot to look out the door because Miss Molman was out there looking. So she went, you know, come here. So I was in a little trouble there for a while, man. She was a very tough lady, but very honest and fair. You know, she never. I don't think she ever got anybody's case that didn't deserve it.
I just look forward to the new building, and it's going to be sad to see this go, but it's kind of like the old auditorium, and it had its time. That was our main area where we played all our basketball games, and I think at that time the girls played volleyball down there. That was our only gym, and that was nobody liked coming in and playing in that. We knew all the trick spots in the floors where the ball didn't bounce quite so well, and tried to use it to our advantage. So there's just countless memories of classmates and friends and teachers. I couldn't even begin to go into the memories from all the sports activities, and we had quite a good time. A friendly rivalry with Audubon. I have very good friends over there, and we'd always go back and forth. Still to this day, as we're older, we still kid each other about it. But.
The class of 2012 was the last class to graduate from the old building. A new era began in September 2012, and we hope there's many more good memories and years in this new building at Lake Park.